Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Bullony Basketball here on episode 11 with the one and only special guest, my friend Zander. How's it going, Zan, man?
What's up, Garrett? How's it going?
It's going pretty good. As we're having the Christmas special here, had to get my man Zan right next to me. We got a
Heck
lot of
yeah.
stuff to talk about. If you notice, this camera probably looks a little bit sus, like from my angle. We had some technical difficulties. We're making it work, but I do want to get your opinion on this first thing here, Xander, and that is Zion Williamson, who is expected to miss approximately 4 to 6 more weeks. People thought at the
Yeah,
beginning of the
I mean,
year, I will say, first of all, I know you're probably anxious to talk about it, but, uh, you know, people thought maybe he'd be back like well, at the start of the season. Then it kept lingering on and on. His weight has been a big issue. So now I'll give you the spotlight. What do you think of this news with Zion?
I think that I can't say that I'm surprised. Like, just considering how NBA injuries go a lot of the times, like they either think they're fine and they come back too soon. So in this case, I'm glad that he's taking the time off, but I'm not sure if he's doing it the right way. As he is putting on a lot of weight, as you said, and it is pretty obvious. It's almost comical at this point. I've seen the memes, I've seen the pictures. Like, I think it's crazy, but hopefully he could get that straightened out. And if he does, I mean, he's still a pure athlete. The dude will jump over you if you're 7'3". Even if he weighs 400 pounds. So I don't know. It's one of those things where we just have to see how it plays out. I don't think he's a bust at all. I think he is. I think he's going to come back strong no matter what. I mean, he's a pure athlete. I mean, the kid is. I say kid, but I mean, he's going to be great, no matter what. And I don't think he's a bust at all. He just needs to get back in his rhythm. He's still young. He's got lots of time to prove himself and really make his impact on the league.
Yeah, I like that you said, like he's definitely still not a bust and stuff. I feel like people get too impatient with that stuff. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, for sure.
nowadays, like you kind of got to be great, like from day one or season one. And
Hmm.
really, he's already shown that he can be great. I mean, some people are already comparing
Oh,
his play to LeBron. You know what I mean?
I mean, the kid, like for real, like he's so young. Like, look at the kid, and that's why I say kid because, like, compared to everyone else in the league, the dude's in a completely different league for how young he is. Last time I've seen someone this young doing the kind of things Zion's doing is like you said, LeBron. But even LeBron, like, isn't as bouncy as Zion is for his size. Like, imagine if
Yeah.
Zion slimmed out. Like, can you imagine that? Like, I get it. Like, they're two different players. I get it, but if I'm going to compare Zion to anyone, it's going to be LeBron James because LeBron James, as a rookie as well, it's the same what is it, archetype of player, just like that big bruiser kind of guy, who's also athletic and just strong, uh, just an athlete. Like, that's what he is. I mean, have you seen him play football too? Like, one back in high school, like he was crazy at football, just
Yeah.
like LeBron. But I mean, lots of NBA players are, but I've like Zion was making highlights, football highlights too. So
Yeah.
yeah, he definitely not a bust.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I mean, there's rumors that say he's like 320 as of right now, which I mean, that's crazy.
He's a
Now,
big dude. He's a big boy.
and like in pictures, like you can see, like he's definitely put on some weight. I don't know about that much, but it's interesting to see like when he does come back, if he plays on like a 320 pound body, and if it makes him maybe better, it could be an advantage in some sense because it's like now, like in the post, like you're harder to score against on terms of your defense, which that's always been a problem for him, or it just makes people less likely to even contest him like around the paint. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So I mean that should be interesting to see. But of course, the weight could be an issue for lingering injuries down the line. But let's
True.
focus
That is
on
true.
let's focus on another injury situation, and that is Klay Thompson, who is expected to come back in January. I believe they're targeting one of two home games. I think there's one on January 9th and January 18th. I think Woj also said like that 18th one is probably like the latest situation, and that's less than a month from now. So, I mean, we know what Klay Thompson's done before. He hasn't been on an NBA court playing in a game since the 2019 finals. So that was forever ago. That's before
Yeah.
before Kyle Lowry was a champion. The Toronto Raptors were champions. Kawhi won his second. So I guess what I'll ask you is like, what do you expect from Klay when he comes back, and how much do you think he could elevate the Warriors who are already playing so well this year?
I mean, it's a really great question, and it's really one of those things where I can't wait to see how it plays out because it's so long awaited. But I also don't want to be one of the people who is disappointed when he's maybe not what I expected to come back as. You got to remember he's coming off of an injury. It's not like he's had these years to polish his game actually playing in the NBA. Against a competition. Well, I mean, sure, there's practices and whatever, but he, like you said, hasn't been on the court since what 2019 or so. I bet he's going to have that initial layer of rust. If not initially, he might have something crazy. His first night back, he might do something crazy just because first night back. Beginner's luck, but for lack of a better term, he's not a beginner. But but yeah, I think there's going to be some beginning rust there, just because it's just natural. But I think once it wears off, he's a solid bodied, I'd say, veteran at this point of the game. Um, I mean, debatably one of the greatest shooters of all time. Maybe not on the level of Stephen Curry, but I mean, he's in the conversation for one of the top 10 greatest shooters of all time, in my opinion, or at least that's where I think he'll end up if he's not there already. But you got to admit the guy could shoot the basketball to a high degree. I mean, and he did. I don't know if he's past his prime or not. Like I said, it's been 2 years, and a player can change a lot in 2 years for better or for worse. So, um, it's going to be exciting to see. I think that he has great chemistry with all the guys. I mean, even when he's out, I see him having fun, messing with the guys. Steph and Draymond especially. Draymond, even if we don't touch on Draymond, I think is an integral point of the Warriors, not just this season, but of all seasons. All seasons in the past. I think he's a great leader, and Klay is just another member of the cast in a great, well-oiled machine, I'd say. So I definitely don't think that him coming back is going to hurt the Warriors in any way, even if he doesn't play his best in the first few games. I think that even if he doesn't get his normal, amount of full-time minutes, I think he's still going to have a positive impact on the court, if not in performance and attitude for sure. And chemistry and just all around morale. Because that's what I think makes the Warriors great is every time you go out there and watch them, they're always having fun, So and Klay is just another member of that, like I said, well-oiled machine. Because frankly, that's what the Warriors are.
There's two things specifically that, Klay Thompson does well that's perfect for the Warriors, and it's shooting the basketball and moving off the ball. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
in their whole lineup does that. You see guys like, you know, Gary Payton the second and Damian Lee, who like started in the G League. Now they're doing that for the Warriors this year. Jordan Poole, I mean, it's made him a huge part of the team. Andrew Wiggins is, I think, probably playing the
Mm-hmm.
best basketball of his career, and I was critical on
For
him
sure.
like when he started in his career. But yeah, I don't think. I mean, you kind of hit it right on the dot when you're saying like Klay. He's only going to help this team. I'd be
Mm-hmm.
more concerned maybe like with how Wiseman is going to fit because he's got his own injury. They weren't great last year with him, and some of the things that the Warriors love to do, he's not necessarily great at. But in terms of Klay
Mm-hmm.
Thompson, I mean, this guy's I think, five-time All-Star. I think he was one-time All-NBA. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, and like you
Mm-hmm.
said, he's one of the greatest shooters ever. I'd say he's probably in the top five. Like yeah, he's not Curry, but you know,
Arguably, yeah.
he's probably right there around the guys of like Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, Drazen Petrovic, and give him some love. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I don't know. It should be interesting to see how he comes back. I mean, you're adding a guy who, yeah, and he might struggle early this year. And we've seen it with guys like Paul George when he came back from his injury, and Gordon Hayward when he came back from his. Those guys weren't amazing the first year after,
Mm-hmm.
but now they've since like bounced back and they're playing pretty well. So
Yeah, and even if they're not playing like in the same style, like I think a perfect example of this, although still a kind of grim example of this would be Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose, probably one of the most athletic point guards of all time, gets a crippling injury that some could even consider career ending. Some people do consider it career ending because Derrick Rose never really, um, achieved that same level of athleticism again because of that injury. Even though he has since found a new style that he can play with, not just the drive to the rim, dunk on you kind of deal, but a more patient style of play that you need when you don't have the athleticism you have. Coupling with he's not getting any younger. So even if Klay, now granted, Klay Thompson is nowhere as near of as athletic as Derrick Rose was, and probably not even as athletic as Derrick Rose is now. Because that's just not the type of player Klay is. Klay is that 3-and-D kind of guy. I think his defense is also pertinent to the Warriors, just team in general. You've got Draymond, as I'd say, the defensive anchor. Taking that vocab from 2K badges. It's a perfect example of what Draymond Green is, and you can even argue Klay Thompson in the backcourt side of things. I still consider Klay Thompson a two. Sure, he could be a 3-2, but I think he's a two at heart. He's definitely in the backcourt. I think he holds it down defensively for the backcourt. Steph is the offensive backcourt. Klay's the defensive backcourt. Wiggins is fitting perfectly into that three, as you said. Yeah, I think he's playing the best basketball of his career as well. He's not just the young buck anymore. He's got some IQ under his belt now, I think, and he's really starting to find his stride. Draymond, of course, I don't even think needs any explanation. You just cannot hate that guy. Well, you can hate him. I bet the people playing against him hate playing against him just because of the way he plays. But he's a great guy, great leader. Everyone on the team loves him. He coaches all the young players, and I think that's important for any team. You gotta help these young players if you want them to fit into your style of play. You can't just expect them to fit in and then trade them when they don't. I could tell Draymond's not that kind of teammate where he gets frustrated with the young guys. I can tell he's there for
Yeah.
them. And like I said, Klay Thompson the same way. Like I said, it's like one big family almost that they have there. They're always having fun. I don't see any bad chemistry between any of the guys. I think everyone's play style meshes well together. Like I said, Steph's the offense, plays the defense and offense. Wiggins is there as your in between guy. Draymond's holding it down at the four. And then at the five, I honestly don't know who's playing at the five for the Warriors right now, at least consistently. Could you fill me on who's starting for the Warriors right now?
Usually it's been Kevon Looney, but it's definitely like their weakest spot. Like they like to put Draymond at the
I
five,
think, yeah,
obviously. So, yeah, but I mean, and like you said, like Draymond, he got that intimidator badge. You know what I mean?
right.
But yeah, I don't want to get into all the D Rose stuff, but I do get what you're saying about like with Klay Thompson, and it could be good, but of course, like you never know like what's gonna happen. I mean,
You never know.
not everyone can have like that Kevin Durant Achilles comeback. You know what I mean?
All right, right.
So, but yeah, we can move on. We could talk about the Dallas Mavericks specifically, and an ordeal that happened like a few years ago with their former head coach Rick Carlisle and then Dennis Smith Jr. I thought this was kind of interesting because basically to sum it up, Rick Carlisle I guess said that Dennis Smith Jr. was jealous of Luca, even though both those guys were really good friends. And then everyone, I guess, in the locker room was saying stuff about how, Rick Carlisle kind of treated Dennis Smith Jr. the most unfair of all those guys, and everyone else thought it was kind of wrong. As a result, like he got traded for Kristaps Porzingis in like 2019 at the trade deadline. So, and since then he's bounced around. He's been with the Knicks. He actually got traded 4 rows like to the Pistons after that, and then now he's with Portland, kind of trying to like resurrect his career. But he had a great rookie year, at least I think, at least a solid rookie year. I wouldn't say it was elite, but it was still pretty good. I believe he was all rookie. So I guess what I'll ask you is that like, what do you make of this whole situation? And are you leaning one side? Are you like Team Rick Carlisle here or Team Dennis Smith Jr.?
don't know whose side I'm gonna take. I think that it's just drama between it just happens in the NBA with trade rumors. This is a prime example of team chemistry just not netting, and the coach is part of the team too. Um, a perfect example of this of why that's the case. Look at Steve Curry. He's out there. He's coaching the team, but he's also not starting any beef with any of the guys because why would he? I understand some of it's unavoidable, but when it comes down to it, it's just drama. I think picking a side is futile. I think Dennis Smith Jr. is a young player. He played great his first season for as well as anyone could play in their first season in the NBA. Super athletic guy. I've seen him do some flashy things that the average NBA player I'd say couldn't do. He's still finding himself, his play style, and I think most importantly what he needs to get down is his team chemistry. Just find a place where he meshes, and not just find a place, but also commit to training himself to fit into a team. That they're like I was saying with Draymond, he's good with the young guys, but it also really helps when you have a coachable young player. So hopefully Dennis Smith Jr. Learns that over time. I'm not saying he's not coachable, but he's still a young player. He's got a long way to go. But I think he's in a good spot for where he's at right now. I think that the Mavericks could have held on to him, and if the chemistry was there, I think he could have fit in great with Luka and all them. But obviously that wasn't there, and that's okay. I think him leaving is for the best for both parties involved. So I'm glad they got their differences settled at least one way or another. Whether if that's just parting ways, that's fine. But yeah, that I don't feel strongly one way or the other enough to I guess complain about it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like I mean, I didn't see like the full I know like he kind of took a little bit of it to Twitter like to discuss about it. I didn't get like that deep into the whole situation, but I thought it was kind of interesting. Like, you know, a lot of people kind of said like, "Oh, he fell off," like, "Oh, he sucks now," but like I think a lot of it is just like the situation that you're in. Like it kind of depends. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't just make the NBA, you know,
Right.
randomly, unless maybe like you're a giant like Roy Hibbert or something.
I guess, but I mean, he for an NBA player, he's in the NBA competing, doing flashy dunks, and I think he could be a valuable asset to any team he goes to. Frankly, he's got the athleticism for it, and in the NBA, that's crucial. Obviously, he's got a shot too. He could develop it more. Of course, everyone can. Um, but yeah, it's just a matter of seeing. He's too young to see his full legacy play out. And will this be a pivotal moment in his career where it's gonna change anything for the way better or way worse? I don't think so. I think it's just a minor bump in the road for him, as it would be for pretty much any young NBA player at this point in their career. So
One
yeah, I
thing,
think he's in a good spot wherever he ends up, even if he sticks in Portland. I think it's fine.
one thing I will add though is that the fact that
Sure.
it seems like a lot of the news from it came from like the 2018-19 year, and that was his second season.
Okay.
So the year before that, I think the only people that might have been on the team, I'm just going off the top of my head, but I think the only people that might have been on the team that year were Dirk and JJ Barea, for like the
Okay.
full
So this
season.
was pre Luca. Okay.
And so like those are two guys that won a championship with them in 2011. So they probably have a little bit more favoritism toward Carlisle. Not saying that they're against Dennis Smith Jr., but like maybe they're a little bit biased to like see it clearly.
Sure.
What do you think? Do you think that's valid or no?
Yeah, I think that is valid. I think that Dirk, and that team, with Rick Carlisle, obviously must have had something good going on. If they're contenders, I think Dirk is a legendary player, and I think
Facts.
legendary players are, a lot of the times complimented by what some may consider a legendary coach. I'm not saying Rick Carlisle is the best coach of all time or anything, but there's something to be said about winning championships and coaching and keeping a good player like Dirk around. If there's a bad player-coach relationship, you get situations like Dennis Smith Jr. And I just think that, like you said, I don't want to say favoritism, but just the expectation of how a team should be versus how it is, and if it's not quite there, it's I think it's down to both the coach and the player at that time to determine, should we build with what we have, or should we just switch things up entirely to try to get the result we're more used to seeing, such as like Dirk. Or I feel like Kristaps Porzingis is a is the modern day Dirk of the Mavericks, but that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, he definitely has the play style. I'm sure Mavericks fans would hope he could become Dirk for them, and win him a
Right.
championship.
I think that was the goal. I think that was the goal with onboarding Kristaps Porzingis, but that's just speculation. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
And they still got time. Dennis Smith Jr. still has time, like you said, but we're just gonna have to see how it all plays out. But let's move on. Let's talk about the NBA Christmas Day games. Now there's supposed to be five of them. Now we don't know. Like there's been a big COVID spike, so
Okay.
we don't know. Like something could happen where maybe some of these games aren't played. But I guess we'll go one by one. I'll ask you like who do you think's gonna win, and if you have any thoughts like maybe on what could have happened in the game. So I guess for the Hawks Knicks, Trae Young and the Hawks, Derrick Rose should be available. I would hope. I mean he loves playing on Christmas anyways, but you got him, Randall, and the Knicks. What do you think? Who's gonna win, and how do you think the game will go?
I think the Knicks actually this season are a lot better, or at least in my eyes, than they've been in previous seasons. I don't know what has clicked or what's changed, or you know what has led them to be better. I think they are objectively better this season than they have been in past. So I think I'm taking the Knicks in this one. Trae Young is Trae Young. I think Trae Young's great. I think he's got tremendous value for the Hawks, but I don't know. There's something about the Knicks team this year. I think I'm going to take the Knicks in that game.
The Knicks, this I would say is probably their second best season in the past, well, since Carmelo Anthony days, which doesn't say a lot because like a lot of people have actually been critical of the Knicks this year based on how they were last year. Last year, they were great. They played the
Really?
Hawks in the first round. The big thing though is that they kind of got whooped by the Hawks. But again, I think that they're gonna want revenge. It is in Madison Square Garden, so there is that. And I think they're going to want revenge on the Hawks. The Hawks really haven't been that great this year either. And I think maybe they're going to get like a fraud label because they went all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. And I'm going to tell you right now, they're not going to make it there again, at least this season, maybe like years down the line. But I'm going to take the Knicks as well. I feel like this is just like a feel good game. Um, but yeah, I mean, we could
Yeah.
move on. Or, oh, wait, do you have anything more to say about that or do you want to move on?
No, I was just gonna say it's gonna be a good game. I think either way, I mean, I always love Christmas games, no matter who's playing or the outcome. So it's gonna be fun.
So the next game we got is the Celtics Bucks. I believe Giannis. So they basically put like guys like Giannis and Middleton in COVID protocol recently. So I don't know if they'll be available, but I feel like the NBA will do everything possible to make sure they do play. The Celtics, on the other hand, they're kind of fine with their stars. Like Tatum, Brown, Schroeder's played well for them, but at the same time, they haven't played well this season. So I guess who do you think is taking that one? Maybe.
I'm gonna go with the Bucks. If those two, I think the Bucks will win for sure if Giannis and Middleton are playing. Um, yeah, that I mean, because that's just how I think. I mean, I don't think the Celtics are bad. I just think that the Bucks are gonna win because of Giannis and Middleton. I think those two are fantastic. Also barring if they're still like sick, from if they're COVID or whatever.
Yeah.
If they're healthy and playing, I think they're gonna be. I think the Bucks are gonna win. Do I think the Bucks will lose if they don't play? Not necessarily, but I don't think it's I wouldn't surefire bet that the Bucks are gonna win that one. I think that the Celtics definitely have a chance at that point. Um, yeah, because Jason Tatum and Brown, I mean, like you even said, Schroeder too, but certainly Brown and Jalen. they are, or not Brown and Tatum. They're great, and they'll definitely they'll whoop you if you're not careful.
Yeah, I think I forget if the Celtics and Bucks have played on Christmas before, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe they played around Christmas last year, and like I think Tatum went off, so it could happen. Again, like you said, I think a big part of it is going to rely on if Giannis and Middleton are playing. I don't know if it crosses with the 10-day thing, that they have to sit out or something unless they get two negative tests. But the NBA is going to do everything possible to make sure a guy like Giannis and a guy like Middleton is available.
Right, right,
They don't want to see they wouldn't want to see guys like all right Al Horford and Robert Williams go up against Drew Holiday and Grayson Allen. Nobody wants to see
right.
that.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the next game. The Warriors and the Suns. These two teams have actually split in the season so far this year. The big thing, though, is they split with Devin Booker being out for basically, one and a half of the games. He's back
Mm-hmm.
now, and the Suns, I just saw a stat. They haven't lost a game with Devin Booker since October 27th, you know, and they're going to be at home. The Warriors are not going to have Klay back yet. So do you think the Warriors, the Warriors are also the second seed in the West right now. The Suns are first. Do you think the Warriors can kind
Mm-hmm.
of overcome these odds against them to win this game, or Phoenix got it?
I don't know. I really like the Phoenix Suns. Who would have thought that the Phoenix Suns are gonna be the number one seed above the Warriors? Last year, obviously, finals material. I never thought the Suns team, was gonna be finals material pretty much ever in recent years, anyways. So yeah, they surprised me. I would not be surprised if the Suns came out and blew out the Warriors. Yeah, I said it. I think that the Suns could blow out the Warriors, but I also won't be surprised if the Warriors blow out the Suns because I know what Steph Curry is capable of. Actually, shout out to him for breaking that record. Honestly, that's awesome. Um, and yeah, so again, another game that could go either way. It's going to be super fun to watch. However it goes, like I said, it could be a blowout. It could be a close game. Um, I think that they are two very different style of basketball. Playing wise, you've got Chris Paul with the Suns, who's fantastic, even at the latter part of his career. So who knows?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go with the Suns too. I wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually did blow them out. One thing is that Steph Curry doesn't typically play well on Christmas. I don't know what it is, but he generally doesn't have a good Christmas reputation. So that very well could stand, especially with everything else not in their favor. I got to go with the Suns. Now, this next one is probably the most hyped one. Really, it shouldn't be, but it probably is going to be. And that's the Nets and the Lakers. I mean, we know the Nets have, Kevin Durant, James Harden. Harden should, I believe, definitely be back. I don't know about KD because I think he was recently put in protocols. Kind of the same thing with Giannis. And then, the Lakers got LeBron, Westbrook, Anthony Davis is going to be out, of course. I think the one thing that's interesting though is that Kyrie Irving, who also just got put in protocol, so we'll have to see that. But the Nets just decided, okay, we're gonna let you play in away games, and this game is in LA. So if he is playing, if let's assume everyone's playing that can, like Kyrie, KD, Harden, LeBron, and Westbrook, Melo, all those guys. Like, what do you think
Yeah,
could happen in this game? A lot of rivalries.
yeah, it's an all-star game, honestly. I don't know. I think you again. I hate to say this for every single matchup you say. It could go either way, but I think in this one, I'm gonna choose the LA Lakers to win this one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the Nets have really found their stride yet. Completely. I think Harden. I don't know. I haven't seen him play recently, but I know at the beginning of the season he's really struggling, and I think that just has to do with the new officiating, which, by the way, I think is fantastic. I don't know if we've ever touched on that together, Garrett, but I think that the new officiating is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Regarding the you know the fouls and the or rather lack thereof on the stupid flops, floppy fish arms that you get when you shoot threes. Um, and I think that has really obviously had an impact on points per game for someone such as Harden. Where I don't know I know you have seen like his free throw stats compared to like other teams, like James Harden compared to teams free throw, he made, and how many his percentage of points coming out of free throws, I think was just frankly ridiculous. It wasn't basketball at that point. That was like it was just I don't know. It just wasn't good basketball. I didn't like watching it.
it was like at the
I
carnival,
think
like those games that they have, like with the hoops and stuff like that. Like that's basically what it was.
right. Yeah, I mean, because you're not passing, you're just shooting, getting fouled, and then shooting free throws. Which I mean, sure, I had almost come to accept that that's how it was going to be, and I didn't like the new style of basketball, but if that's the way the league was heading, I mean, there were it was just a minor thing, I guess, but I didn't like it. It didn't make me want to stop watching the NBA, as I think other things about the NBA have gotten better. And now, finally, that the officiating has been fixed, I think the NBA is the best to watch that it's been, and I'd say the past at least 5 years, at least for me, on a consistent basis. I know there have been great moments that for history in the past 5 years, but I just think in overall enjoyability of watching the game and just good basketball in general, I think the new officiating is playing a crucial part in that.
It's actually funny how you were so adamant about the officiating because I had like a note on here that I think the refs are going to be pretty integral in this game. Because
Mm.
you got the Nets, who everyone deemed the favorites in the East before the year, and then you got the Lakers in the West. Everyone deemed them the favorites in the West. Like you said, like both these teams really haven't had they really haven't found a groove so far this year. I know the Nets are the first seed, but I know a lot of people still acknowledge that they got a few things that they got to work out. And the
Yeah.
Lakers, they've been pretty disappointing most of the year. They're right now sitting at 16 and 16, which is 500. Now it would be, ideal to have maybe a Christmas Day turnaround, maybe in their season, which could happen.
Mhm.
And I think especially like if KD is out and if Kyrie's still out with protocol, I believe Harden should be back, but if it's Harden um, with that Nets squad, they're really not entirely deep. Patty Mills has played great. Blake Griffin's had his moments, uh, but then you look at like the Lakers, for example. You still got LeBron, who's played really good over the past like 10 or so games after missing a lot early in the year. You still got Westbrook, you still got Melo. They'll probably have I don't know if they'll have Malik Monk back, but he's probably been one of their best shooters this year. So yeah, I mean, it all depends. It's just like the Bucks Celtics game. It all depends who plays. But I'm still gonna roll with the Nets just because I think they've been the better team for a majority of the season. And I think even if they do only have Harden, that might be enough to get it. I mean, the Lakers, they've had their own problems. So I'm going to roll
Mhm.
with the Nets. You got the Lakers. I think that's the first one we disagree on, too.
Yeah, that's fine. Like it could go. I think it's an all-star game. In both in the sense that yeah, I don't think that there's going to be much team basketball being played. But I think that's just the nature of having a starting lineup full of all stars on both sides. There's going to be some egos getting in the way, but that's just how it is. So, and both teams are going to be suffering from the same issue. So yeah, it could go either way. I think that LeBron is a better leader figure than, say, someone like Kevin Durant. But I also think Kevin Durant is a far better offensive player than, I wouldn't say far better. I mean, I think Kevin Durant is a better offensive player than LeBron is. I think that Kyrie he's getting to the point where he's a good veteran. But then you have someone like James Harden, who's a wild card. You don't really know how he's going to show up. When he comes out, he could drop 50 on you, or he can, go 1 for 11. You never know. So it's
Right.
going to be interesting.
Yeah. Let's look at the final game on Christmas. Mavericks Jazz. believe Luka Doncic won't be playing since just today they said he was going to come back from his injury possibly tomorrow, and then he got put in health and safety protocols again. So he's probably not going to be playing in this game. I'd be surprised if he
Mm.
came back with two negatives. The Jazz, they've been pretty good recently. They started the year off slow, but Rudy Gobert early in the year looked like a solid MVP candidate. As of late, it's more so been Donovan Mitchell. So, especially if the Mavericks don't have Luka, and they got all these other guys like Porzingis, like Tim Hardaway Jr. that they got in that Dennis Smith Jr. trade we were just talking about recently. But like, if those are the guys that are going to be leading them, do you think that's enough to beat Utah in this game?
Hmm. I don't know. I think that Utah is a solid team. And honestly, I don't really, frankly, know too much past them or past that with the Jazz team, but I've seen their highlights. While as they're not as flashy or as historic as some other teams are putting up, I think that they play solid basketball. I think that Rudy Gobert is one, if not the best defensive center in the league. I think that he is even offensively picking up a little bit. Donovan Mitchell is a star talent, I'd say. Um, like I said, he's not maybe as flashy. Now, don't get me wrong. I've seen the guy dunk crazy, but he's not like Steph Curry, hitting half court shots consistently. He's not like
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, who's doing the same thing, step backs. He's a great player. He's a I'd say a great shooter, great athletic player. Defensively, I'd say he's above average. And he works well with Rudy Gobert. So yeah, I'm taking the Jazz in this matchup.
I wouldn't say necessarily Mitchell isn't as flashy as them, but I would say he's not as consistent as them. Because we've seen like
Okay,
Curry and
for
Durant,
sure.
like they're some of the most efficient ever. Donovan Mitchell, he's not bad, but he's probably just not on
Mhm.
that level with those guys. But nah, I
Right.
mean, I'm gonna
Like when you
agree.
think of legendary scorers, I'm not thinking of Donovan Mitchell in my top 10.
Well,
That's what I mean. Like
yeah, that's
historic
fair.
value.
I think part of that too is just the fact that he's so young. Because I mean, he's played good in the playoffs for his career so far. So we'll have to
No,
see.
I don't
Like,
see him having a high ceiling. That's all I see. I mean, he's great, but I don't see him having a super high ceiling.
It'd be funny if we made like a $1 bet on this, like we did the Charlotte Hornets championship in 2030, revisiting this combo. Is Donovan Mitchell a top 10 scorer in the league? But no, I'm gonna agree with
Mm.
you. I think the Jazz are gonna win. I don't think it'll even be close because I feel like by then everyone's gonna turn off their TVs and be like, all right,
Yeah.
it's everyone. No one's gonna watch probably
Yeah,
after the
this
Nets Lakers. So
I think this is the last. I think that the Jazz game is my least anticipated, I'd say, matchup. It's the one I think I would not want to watch the most. The second to that being the Knicks and the Hawks. I don't know. Just the I think the big one, like we touched on earlier, is going to be the Lakers game. That one's going to be fun for sure. But I'm also excited to see how the who is it? The Celtics and the Bucks go as well. Those teams are always fun to watch when they play together. Um, and uh, and yeah, I think all the games are going to be great, but I think my least anticipated one is going to be the Jazz game, just because I'm not too big of a I don't have too much going for Portland. But who knows? There might be something crazy that happens in the game, so you never know.
yeah. Um, But yeah, I mean, we could move on to the trivia segment. Do you
All
want to hear the
right,
rules about it first?
yeah, let's go. Fill me in.
Okay, so basically the rules are I'm going to give you five questions with five hints on each question. So for each question on the five hints, you can get three guesses and two skips. If you get a correct guess and less hints used, that gives you more points. So say you use one hint and get it right, 5 points. Two hints, 4 points. Three hints, 3 points, and then it keeps going. If you guess wrong three times on a question, you get zero for that question. So, like I said,
Okay.
there's five questions, which makes 25 points. Then at the very end, there's a question about me in the NBA, but you don't get any hints on that. It's just like a random, impossible level question. That's also worth five
Okay.
points, so you could get 30 points. you get that right. But yeah, are you ready for the trivia?
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's go.
All right, so here's the first question, first hint. This is a current NBA player that was ranked second highest in the high school class of 2008 by Rivals.com. And he was behind Byron Mullins or BJ Mullins, if you want to know that. But second ranked high school class of 2008, and he's a current player. And again, you get two skips and three guesses on every question. So you could use a guess here, but it could be risky.
Do the questions get harder as we go on, or would you say it's a mixed bag?
Uh, I think this one I probably mixed it up. This is probably like one of the harder ones. But I don't know.
Okay,
I mean, we'll
good,
have to
because
see.
I was like, oh.
Well, the fifth hint or the 5 point hint is always pretty hard too, like just in general. So I mean, you could skip and maybe go for a lot of lower tier points questions, but
So can I get so in this case, if I want another hint, it would be like the 4 point hint?
yes. Um,
Yeah, give me fire away with that because I think I need it.
okay. So the second hint for 4 points, if you get it right, he is married to a member of the United States women's national soccer team.
Mm.
Like I said, this one's
And
probably
that could have been the 5 point hint. Let's see.
well, he's definitely been in the NBA for something. I mean, if
Mm,
he was a high school 2008, you know what I mean?
you're right. High school 2008.
Married
And he was ranked second, you said?
behind Byron Mullins,
Behind someone I've never
Bobcat
heard
legend.
of. Okay.
Bobcats legend, man.
I've never even heard of him. um, uh, I'm gonna guess.
Well, again, you can skip here, but then after that, you can just freely guess on this question, or you could guess for 4 points. But what are you thinking?
Give me a 3 point hint.
Okay, so now you can guess freely on the rest of this question. The third hint for
Okay.
3 points, he is a one-time All-Star, one-time champion, and multiple-time All-Defensive player.
I may be totally wrong by this. Tyson Chandler.
I feel like that's a good guess, but it is not Tyson Chandler.
Okay.
Um, I don't even know if he's officially retired. He's not on a team, but I don't think he's retired yet. So yeah, that's actually a pretty good guess. Um,
Yeah.
so that's your first strike. Here's your the hint for a chance at 2 points now. This guy has been
Okay.
teammates. He's been teammates with players such as Andre Iguodala, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, and Giannis Antetokounmpo in his career. And maybe a little hint is it was in that order. Um, Actually,
Say it again.
not quite that order. Um, all right, so I'll say it in the order. He has been teammates with players such as Andre Iguodala, Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, and Giannis Antetokounmpo in his career. And again, you
Why
can
did this
guess
make it
here.
harder for me? Because I gotta think of all those players you just said and think of all their teammates, which has just added so many more variables to the
Well,
equation. I was.
I mean, this guy's not bad. Like he's like a known name. I should say.
Hmm. Let's see. Okay, yeah, he's an all-star. You said, and also a one-time NBA champion,
He's a one-time champ, one-time All-Star, and multiple-time All-Defensive.
Larry Sanders.
It is not Larry Sanders. So that's
Wow.
it's your second strike. So here's the final hint. Chance of 1 point.
Okay,
Again, he's a current player in the NBA, but he also has
current player.
multiple brothers currently in the NBA as well. So there's at
Oh
least
my God.
three in that family. What are you thinking?
Drew Holiday.
It is Drew Holiday.
Let's
And
go,
that's pretty good.
baby.
You clutched up there at the end. I was like, hopefully he gets it. So you at least didn't end with zero. And
Brothers did it for me, and I was like, I started making all the connections, and I was like, it's gotta be one of them.
that's
And
right.
I was like, Justin's not in that conversation, so it's gotta be
Yeah.
Drew.
That's pretty good. So you got 1 point. That's not bad. I always give a goal to try and get 10 by the end of it for each guest. So we'll see how you do.
Okay.
So here's the second question, first hint. This is a former NBA player that led his country to the gold medal in the 2004 Olympics. He defeated the U.S. to get there, by the way.
So obviously a foreign player led their country to win.
2004.
2004?
Yes.
Okay. Um,
Again, you could skip. You got two skips on each one, or you could go big or go home.
I feel like I can think of this one. Given another hint.
Okay, okay. So the 4 point hint, and we'll see if you know this. I feel like a lot of people don't, but this might be an easier 4 point
Okay.
hint. But he once swatted a bat out of midair. It all
You didn't tell me what country, right?
No, I didn't tell you what country.
Okay.
It all depends really if you've seen the clip of him swatting the bat out of midair.
Given that's not ringing any bells, I don't think that that's gonna do it for me. But I'll keep thinking here. I'm gonna go. Is there a time limit? I don't want to draw it on too long, but I'm
There,
also
no,
still
no, no, no.
thinking.
There's no time limit. I mean, as long as my
Okay.
thing keeps recording, but you're good.
Sure. Hmm. And is it just again a question about the rules? Is there a downside for me like asking for hints on every single question? And how many
I
questions are
mean,
there total?
you just would get a chance at less points. So like right now, you get this right, you get 4 points added to your score. But if you ask for another
Uh-huh.
hint, then you could get 3 points instead. You know what I mean? It's
Okay.
just a more safe way to get points.
Sure. Um, I'm gonna go with Andre Karolinko.
It is not Andre Kirilenko. That's
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, like you're throwing out some pretty good guesses though for like not
Pretty good
being.
guess.
I feel like that's a pretty good guess though. So here's the third hint, a chance at 3 points. This guy, he was once the sixth man of the year, but he is also a multiple time All Star, All NBA, and NBA champion.
Oh, okay.
Sixth man of the year, All Star multiple times, All NBA multiple times, champion multiple times, and he's retired. He also swatted that bat out of mid.
2004. Um, Pau Gasol.
It is not Pau Gasol.
Ah,
So that's strike number two. Um,
okay.
so you might want to be a little careful here. You got two more hints available. This one's for 2 points. This guy played his
Uh-huh.
entire NBA career with one team, one franchise. Where again, he was six man of the year, All Star multiple times, All NBA multiple times, multiple time champ.
Six six man of the year. Six man of the year. Man, it's always the bench players, man. I'm never remembering. The only six man of the year I ever know is Lou Williams.
I feel like this guy's
Um,
pretty known as a six man too. But of course, he's retired. Lou Williams isn't.
he's retired. True.
And he's pretty recent. I mean, 2004 is not too long ago.
Right, right. Um, can I? I'm skipping this one.
Okay. So I'll give you the final hint, chance at a point here. He was
Okay.
the 57th overall pick in his NBA draft. And I mean, you might as well throw out a guess on this one because this is the last one, you know?
Yeah. 57th pick. So basically almost one of the last picks.
I will say, too, he might be the best player in his draft class as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna see what I could think of. I'm drawing so many blanks right now, but as soon as I know the answer, I'm gonna kick myself. Um, 2004. He's retired. He's got all these accolades. Sixth man of the year, though.
And all with one team, too.
And all with one team. NBA champion.
Multiple time NBA champion, too, yeah.
Multiple times. So he won multiple championships with the same team. So and he was a foreign team that beat the or foreign player that's been on all these teams or on one team his whole life.
What are we thinking?
I'm thinking Peja Stojakovic.
Is that your final guess on this one?
No. Yes, because I can't think of anyone else, but it's a terrible guess and I know it. So go ahead and
Well,
tell me who it is.
it is not Peja Stojakovic. The correct
Okay.
answer, and you'll probably hate yourself for it, it was Manu Ginobili.
Oh my gosh.
I
I
thought
was
the
literally
six.
thinking
I
I
thought
was
six.
thinking Tony Parker, but I was like, God damn it, I don't think that Tony Parker's ever I don't think Tony Parker's ever come off the bench. So I don't know what I was thinking there, but of course it's the same team. So
The other end of the
yep,
backcourt, man.
yeah,
But yeah,
well, that is what it is.
so we'll move on to the third question. Here's the 5 point hint for this one. This NBA team was originally planned to be named the Spirits, and it's an NBA team.
This team, San Francisco.
Are you guessing? Well, so are you guessing the Warriors then, or
Oh,
well, it's a team like a current. I should say like it's a current team. Like probably would have
oh,
thrown you off.
okay.
I think
Oh,
something
I
got.
I said San Francisco. I meant Sacramento.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, I'm
are you
sorry.
guessing the Kings here? Or are you gonna hold out?
Yeah, I'm guessing the Kings because that was my first legitimate guess.
Well, unfortunately, it is not the Kings.
Okay.
So that's strike number one. Here's the
Okay.
4 point hint now. They were in the Western Conference for only one season, and it was during the 1989-1990 season. It was one of their earliest, too, I will say. So they came around.
And in this team, maybe not the franchise, but the team is still around.
Yes, the team is still around.
Okay. Um. And what was the hint you just said? It was
They were in the West for only 1 year. That was in
one
1989,
year.
1990. So really, like that kind of gives away they're an Eastern Conference team, you know.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was about to ask you next. But then that's why I asked you if they're still around. So
Yeah,
okay.
Eastern Conference team was going to be named the Spirits.
And they were in the Western Conference for a year too. But this is probably way back when I didn't know any of the NBA teams or cities. Um, Is it Milwaukee Bucks?
It is not the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay.
That's a good guess though. They were in the West around that time.
Yeah,
But
that's the only team I could think of that switched over.
yeah, and they're they're more Western than this team, obviously, because they're like the most West in the East. But okay, so
Mm.
the third hint, you got two strikes now. Got to be cautious. Uh, the 3 point hint is this team drafted Kobe Bryant before ultimately trading into the Lakers on draft night.
Bobcats.
The Bobcats are they're a current team still, so that'd be the
The
Charlotte.
Hornets.
Are you guessing the Hornets?
I am guessing yes, the Charlotte Hornets.
That's a pretty good guess because you got it right. Let's
Yes,
go.
I knew who drafted Kobe Bryant. So,
See, I
but I
thought
was
like
like,
I was gonna try and trick you by putting like the Hornets in there, because you're always on them, Uh,
uh-huh.
but hey, you knew it. So I gotta
Mm.
give you that. You got 4 points total right now. You get three on the next two, you're at the 10, and if you get the bonus,
Okay.
you're probably killing it. So here's the fourth question, first hint. Uh, this is something you do while playing basketball, like it's a move or a play, not necessarily a player or a team. So this is like just
Okay.
talking basketball. This is a basketball play or move that's generally used in transition or attacking the basket, which could be vague. You could use a skip here if you want, but
What's a skip do? What does the skip do
it,
again?
it just lowers. So if you skip right now, instead of maybe getting a 5 point on this question, you get a 4 point if you get the next one right. But it's better than, zero. So,
True. Well, my first guess, well, if I ask for a hint, I don't get a strike, right? Or do I?
no, you don't get a strike, but you just will, like, get
Lower the
one less
points?
possible. Yeah.
I'll take a 4 point hint.
Okay, so the 4 point hint is many players might utilize this to avoid running into a player trying to take a charge. So, like, put yourself in those shoes. Like, if someone's trying to take a
A
charge,
Euro step.
it is not the Euro step. That's a good guess, though.
Okay.
But that's the first strike. Here's the 3 point hint now. Um,
Okay.
One player that frequently used this move in the NBA in history was Dwayne Wade, who also did use the Euro step a lot. So that's a bit tough, but put
I
put your
mean,
put yourself in the
man,
shoes.
there's so many things. There's so many moves that you can do against someone in transition because, if it's a 2-on-1, I guarantee that the guy, the one defensive player is probably going to try and take a charge. If it's a 1v1, that's something that's commonly happens, and you can do that with the Euro step, spin move, whatever. I'm gonna go with a spin move.
It is not a spin move. That's
Okay,
two strikes. I feel like you might get it after this one, knowing
okay.
your history with playing and one of your favorite moves. But I mean, so you already know the second hint, which I think might be the most useful, is that many people use it to avoid a charge, right?
Hmm.
So the fourth hint is this move makes up part of the famous Jamal Crawford layup. So like, what do you're doing it?
I'm doing it. I mean, behind the back, like behind. Wait,
So like, what move
yeah. It's
to?
a. It's a hop step.
It is a hop step. Yes.
Let's
I would have
go.
also accepted like a jump stop, like coming to a stop.
Jump stop. Yeah, that's what
Same
I was
same
also thinking.
thing, but I will accept that. That's pretty good. I need you to get it after that too, because remember when you did that in
Sure.
game?
Yeah, I remember. I
That
remember that. I
that's
see.
funny. I like how you tried doing it in your seated position too.
Well, yeah, I was like, well, it could only if it's not behind the back, it's got to be Well, I don't know, holding. I was like, well, I guess you do come to a stop, so I guess a jump stop, yeah, hop
Yeah,
step.
it's a tough one. But you did get it. So you got 2 points there. You got six right now. If you get a 4-pointer here, you end with 10 points. However, well,
Okay,
technically the bonus still exists, but it's gonna be hard. I'm gonna warn you.
true.
So
Okay.
here's the first hint: is this current NBA player's rookie nickname was the Prince of Zamunda. Yeah,
um,
this is a tough one.
Zamunda. uh, give me that 4 point hint.
Okay, the 4 point hint: chance that you get this right, you get 10 points at the end, at
Mm,
least. He hit his first career NBA game winner on November 14th, 2012. Now, it's pretty specific, but he is a current player, so the 2012-2013 season, he was definitely playing then. So that's kind of the hint there. He's at
okay,
least played
so
10 or more years.
a player out of the who knows how many that hit game winners in 2012, but it's their first one ever.
So maybe he
Ah,
was young then.
yeah. Prince of Zamunda.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how much help that's gonna do because it's pretty ridiculous.
Okay. November 14th, 2012. What was I doing on November 14th, 2012? I think that I was in sixth grade. I think. Yeah.
Heck,
Um,
hey,
mm,
who's hitting these game
I,
winners? Sixth grade.
I know. Dude, I was playing 2K13 at the time too. That was my first 2K that I started playing consistently. With Derrick Rose, Blake Griffin, and Durant on the cover.
Yeah,
Um,
what do we think?
I'm gonna say Kevin Durant.
Unfortunately, it is not Kevin Durant. And that's a
Okay.
tough one. Now, you're not out of it. That's only your first strike on this
Yeah.
question. So here's the 3-pointer. He won an NCAA championship and was the most outstanding player in the Final Four run of 2011.
Okay, so rookie season was in 2012.
2011, 2012,
Or
yeah, like that season.
yeah, yeah, yep. Um, and repeat that hint again that you just said.
So in like 2011 for the Final Four,
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
voted the most outstanding player, and he also won the NCAA championship that year. I will also add he had an iconic game winner en route to winning the championship. Not necessarily in the Final Four, but he had one.
Okay.
You still do have another skip too if you want to be safe. Um,
Yeah, I'm skipping.
okay, so the 4 point hint is, or the 2 point hint, the fourth question is
Mhm.
he was a part of the NBA team with the worst record in NBA history. So when you think of terrible teams in NBA history, what's the first one that comes to mind, or one of the first ones that comes to mind?
That's also a good question. I gotta think about that because I don't know off the top of my head what the worst team ever has ever been. Um,
I feel like you do know, but like you'll like be kicking yourself.
yeah, I know. It's how I always am. Worst record in the NBA, and that's the team that this dude was playing for when he hit his first game winner on November 2012.
Yeah, it was the same team. I'll say that.
Same team. Okay. Hmm. Ooh, I don't think I was even watching the NBA in 2012. Not gonna lie to you. And worst record NBA. Wait, so he was on the team? He was on the worst team, like
Yeah,
the worst team, or just okay. So that was the worst performing team in NBA history. Was that season?
yeah, like the worst record ever in terms of like win percentage. Um,
Okay,
happened kind of recently. If you're talking like 2011, 2012, stuff like that.
right, right. But again, that's like sixth grade. I'm trying to remember
The bomb squad of the NBA.
the bomb squad of the NBA, and like I'm just, what I'm doing right now is going back to 2K13 and just like going through the worst teams like in on that game. I can't even. I'm gonna go with. I am gonna go with. One NCAA championship.
And again, it's the players, not like the team, but he was on the team.
Doug McDermott.
It is not Doug McDermott.
Ah, man, I don't know. I'm
So
I'm never gonna get this one.
that's your second
Yeah.
strike. No, you might actually get it after this one.
Okay.
So the last hint, this is supposed to be the easiest of the five, but this guy is the all-time leading scorer in the franchise history of the Charlotte Hornets. So think of someone who, recently was on the Hornets for a while, enough to be the leading scorer in franchise history.
Oh, I know exactly who it is.
Who is it? If you miss it, it's gonna be funny. I'm not gonna.
Hemba Walker.
It is Kemba Walker. You got it right. Um, so
Let's go.
you got 7 points right now, uh, which you already beat out last
Hey.
place, which is a W. But if you get the bonus question right, you're tied for first on the whole thing. So it usually all comes down to the bonus. Um,
Okay.
are you
You
ready for
said
the
it's
bonus?
insanely hard, so yeah, fire away.
It is hard. There's no hints I can give you. It's just a question. You have to give me just an answer. Simple as that.
Okay.
Um, so the question is, what retired NBA player is on the first picture in my photo gallery on my phone? And he's retired, former player.
Alonzo Mourning.
Wow, that is a good guess, but it is not Alonzo Mourning.
Dang
I
it.
know exactly what you were thinking, though, right? What were you thinking? Tell me what you were thinking.
I was thinking of your background from my NBA 2K14. It was your home screen wallpaper on your iPhone 4S, and then it transferred over to your iPhone 10X.
And that was my second picture, believe it or not, on my phone. You know what the first one was?
Brian Scalabrine.
No. I got that. I
Uh,
was just checking back. It was April 8th, 2014 when I got that morning card. 2 days
mhm.
earlier, you pulled Jason Kidd on your iPod, and I still had that picture on my
No
phone.
way, dude.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's why I
god.
was like, I'm not gonna lie, that's like the closest bonus guess I think anyone's gotten. So that actually scared me a
I
lot.
thought I had that one in the. I thought I had it in the bag. Like
That
when I heard that, I was like, man, I didn't think you'd had a picture of Jason Kidd, but that's cool.
Yeah, I screenshotted it or something. Um,
That's cool,
I'm
man.
not gonna lie though, that's kind of like almost like you half got it in a way. 9.5 points
Okay,
rounds to 10.
that's fine.
I mean, you
That's
basically
fine.
got it. But nah,
It's
like
not, dude. I'll be on here again playing trivia again. You have like the coolest trivia questions. So yeah, I'll definitely be on for more trivia because that was fun.
exactly, man. I'm glad you had fun. And I hope you guys watching also had fun. Watching this big Christmas special. That's gonna basically do it for the show. But before we go, do you have any final thoughts? And I mean, I guess what are you looking forward to this Christmas? Doesn't even have to be NBA related. Just could be like anything.
Well, I mean, I think everyone should be excited to spend time with family um, and just enjoy the holidays in some way or another. Even if you don't celebrate, you should be having a good time anyway. Um, it is kind of weird for this time of year. I am a bit disappointed. There hasn't been too much snow on the ground. I I don't know if I, miss it too much, as I hate driving in the snow and whatnot. But around this time of year, it is nice to see some snow on the ground. Just not seeing it this year. I know it's one of those things where it's like, okay, who cares? You might live in a state if you're watching, where you have a ton of snow on the ground, but we're here in Northwest Indiana, we're by the Great Lakes, and we don't get too much, or we usually get a ton of snow, especially from the lake effect, and we're just not seeing it this year. It's been pretty warm, so I don't know if this is global warming or whatever, but yeah, that's my only. It's not even a negative. I mean, it's pretty nice outside some of these days, especially for December. So enjoy it out there and enjoy the NBA games, as I'm sure most of you are NBA fans if you're watching this. So enjoy those games. They're going to be fun to watch, as we've already discussed. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good next couple weeks, for anyone who's an NBA fan, and we'll see what the new year brings. And until next time.
I love how you're dropping the Addy with the Northwest Indiana. But yeah, like,
Not the Addy.
well,
Northwest Indiana
well,
could be
yeah,
anywhere.
not exactly. You guys will just have to
Well,
come and
yeah,
meet us. We should do a meet and
yeah,
greet.
yeah. No, yeah, Northwest Indiana could be. Actually, I'll just leave it at that. It's Northwest
If
Indiana.
this gets 1,000 likes, me and Xander will do a meet and greet with anyone interested. Um,
Yeah.
but no, like, yeah, I thought it was a good show. Again, Christmas time, or at least the holiday season. If you don't celebrate Christmas, it's always good to be with family. So, be sure you guys are out doing that. And again, like, you guys know where to find Xander and stuff like that. I think you've probably been a guest on more of my videos than anyone else on my channel. So yeah, I mean, again, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we're out. Peace.
Peace.